This video is on 2.4 and it's the second homework assignment on 2.4. It's homework assignment number 15. Sometimes your parabolas are not going to be in vertex form. They're going to be multiplied out and look like ax squared plus bx plus c. For you to find the vertex, which by now you know is the key point to answer any questions or to graph, you're going to have to put this in form or go through the formula that you're going to see just below this, right here where I'm circling, to get to the vertex. It's an easy little formula. It looks a little complicated, but it's actually not. So just listen really carefully. It asks you to write the equation in vertex form. Your problems may not. Your problems may give you this equation and just start asking you questions, but you just remember that we've got to do some work before we're ready to answer those questions. This f of x, remember, is y. So I have y equals x squared plus 4x plus 1. Now, if I'm going to find the vertex, I'm going to use the formula that we'll talk about from right up here. But I need to identify, kind of like the quadratic formula, a, b, and c. A is the coefficient of x squared, that's 1. B is the coefficient of x, that's 4. And c is the constant, 1. Now, to find x, now if you remember, I'm looking for this vertex, so I'm first looking for x. To find x, I need the opposite of b over 2a. Well, if b is 4, the opposite of that would be negative 4 over 2 times a, which is 1. So that's negative 4 over 2, which reduces just to be negative 2. Now that's the x in my vertex. Okay. Now I need to find y. In class, I'm going to tell you this is probably the most complicated part because sometimes the arithmetic just gets tedious. I'm going to put this negative 2, which is x, into my given equation. So y equal x squared plus 4 times x plus 3. But in place of x, I'm putting negative 2 here and here. Now let's solve that. Negative 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 2 is negative 8 plus 3. So y is equal to, now hold on a moment, I have a 3 there, and I looked up, I don't know where I got the 3. That's a 1. That's just my careless error. I make all those every day. So 4 minus 8 plus 1 is going to be negative 3. That's my vertex. Now you think for just a moment, if you know the vertex, let's work backwards. We did this on the last section. Let's write this in vertex form. There's a plus sign here, so I'm going to have a plus sign out in front of my parentheses. I have x squared. Now this negative 2x goes in the parentheses as plus 2. Negative 3, which is y, goes on the end. There is my vertex form. That's what we were given in the first exercise for 2.4. Now look at either this problem or this problem and find the concavity. Well, it's up because there's no negative sign there. The axis of symmetry, remember, is x equal. And what is x? X is negative 2. If this parabola opens upward, this point, which is my vertex, is the low point. So it is a minimum. It's a minimum at negative 3 when x is equal to negative 2. Alright, the domain, remember all parabolas, that's negative infinity to positive infinity, and that's because there's no square root, there's no fraction here. The range, well, if you remember, this point is negative 2, negative 3, and all points are above that. All points are above, every point. I'm just going to draw me a little graph and let's think about this. Well, if we look at it like this, negative 2, negative 3. All points are above. So y is greater than or equal to negative 3. Or if we write that in interval notation, it would begin at negative 3 and go to infinity. Now, interval of increase. let's look at the graph. We're first decreasing. Remember, from negative infinity to positive infinity. We're first decreasing, so I'm going to put on paper where you can see it. I'm going to go to decrease and say we decrease from negative infinity to this x, which was negative 2. Then my graph increases from negative 2 to positive infinity. Now, the only thing that I could have really told you from the beginning was that this parabola opens up, and this number sitting on the end, just like it was in y equals mx plus b form, is my y-intercept. It may not be useful to you, but that's one information. Okay, we're going to just quickly zip through another and see what we're going to do here. Given this parabola, 2x squared plus 4x minus 16, there's a plus 2. I know right now it opens up. Now remember, what else did we say? The only other thing we know, this negative 16 is my y-intercept. Remember, a y-intercept, you let x be 0. Now I need to find the vertex. Now this is what you need to learn from this lesson. A is equal to 2, B is equal positive 4, and C is equal negative 16. X equals the opposite of B over 2A. The opposite of B would be negative 4 over 2 times 2. That's negative 4 over 4, which is negative 1. Now that's the X in my ordered pair for vertex. To find the y, I'm going to substitute back into my problem. Remember, f of x actually says y. 2x squared plus 4 times x minus 16, but now my x is negative 1, so substitute. Alright, y equals 2 times negative 1 squared is 1. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. 2 times 1 is 2, minus 4 minus 16. 2 minus 4 minus 16 is going to be negative 18. That's my y in my vertex. Before time runs out, let's see if we can finish this. Axis of symmetry, a vertical line is x equal, that's x equal negative 1. If this parabola, let's just think for a minute, if I had negative 1, negative 18 is something like this. If this parabola opens upward, that is a minimum point. It's a minimum at negative 18 when x is equal negative 1. The domain is all reals, remember, always. The range y is all above that point, so it's greater than or equal negative 18, or it starts at negative 18 and goes to infinity. You are decreasing from negative infinity to that x, which is negative 1, and then you're increasing from negative 1 to positive infinity.